Okay, everybody, welcome back to the season finale. This is Adam Field with us today. Hi, Adam. How are you, bud?
Hey, pretty good. How you doing over there, Mike?
Doing well. Doing well. You are the season finale for season two, which is it's exciting. I'm excited.
Awesome.
It's crazy. I've been watching you for I can't even tell you how long. Matter of fact, I think is it your first son? That's how
Yeah,
old is he
he's
now?
he's 21 now, but he
I
kind
was
of yeah,
I
it's
was going to
already
say he's got to be 20, right?
yeah,
Wow, he's 21. What's his
yeah.
name again?
Juno.
Cute. Yeah, see, it's such a cool name. And I remember him, I remember watching, it must have been YouTube or something where he was little.
Oh yeah, there's like my first YouTube video ever from let's see, it would have been like 18 years ago. Was him snowboarding at 3 years old. Was probably like his first appearance on social media, but yeah.
Well, that's how long I've been watching you make pots.
Oh yeah, awesome.
And it's crazy. That's how long, that must be how long I've been making pots then. Oh my gosh. And you have a new son now?
I do. Yeah, he is coming up on 3 years old here in June.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw some videos on Instagram the other day. What a cutie he is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're having so much fun. It's like, that kind of second go round later in life child and yeah, it's been a lot of fun to
Yeah.
relive some of those early years.
Yeah. My daughter, she just turned 16. I have 15, 16, 17 right now.
Oh yeah.
And I tell my daughter, I just want to hold you like this again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just smell baby hair. It was great, but it's over. The times are over. But yeah, he's cute as heck. What's his name?
He's Devin.
Devin. Onin or A N?
Owen, yeah, but named after my time spent visiting Doug Fitch over in Devon, England years ago, and
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
wife had spent some time over there too. And when Devon was born, we had a unusually rainy spring here, and so the hills were lush and green, and we were actually he was 2 days old before we could settle on a name,
Yeah.
and we were driving back from the hospital and seeing those lush hills, and I was like, what about Devon? And it was the first one where either of us had brought up a name and the other one wasn't like, I knew somebody with that name back in middle school, and
Yeah. Yeah, he was a jerk.
how
Yeah.
that goes. Yeah.
Isn't that funny
Yeah. And
how we
then
do
I have
that?
what's that?
Isn't that funny how we do that? We're like, oh God, I knew a guy with that name. He was horrible. Like,
Those associations, yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, then I have a stepdaughter who is just about 13,
Uh
and
huh.
Alder is her name. And what we realized is all of our children have names that are places. Um, so that's a
What
fun little theme.
What
Uh,
did you say her name was?
Her name's Alder, which is a town in Montana.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then Devon, of course, England, Juneau, even though it's spelled differently up in Alaska. And
Yeah.
then my daughter, who is also 16, is Hana. And having lived on Maui, Hana was a pretty special place for us. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
Cool.
yeah.
Maui's beautiful. How long did you spend in Maui?
I lived there for about 6 years.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
beautiful.
Yeah, really loved it there. I had a college roommate who was from there, and that's kind of what planted the seeds to get out there, and went to visit him, and was like, oh, I could be spending, um, you know, comparable amounts of money to live in a place like tropical paradise versus I was living on literally on the train tracks or right next to them in Berkeley at the time. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's
and
very expensive to live in Hawaii, isn't it? Hold
Yeah,
on.
yeah, and
Go
in the
ahead.
end, that's what had us leaving, especially after my son Juno was born. It's like one thing to be, a young couple there, but throw a baby into the mix and all the expenses.
Oh gosh, yeah. And what I've heard from people that have lived there is that there's some pretty hairy parts of Hawaii. If you go inland a little bit, it gets pretty gnarly.
How so?
Like the locals are pretty territorial, from what I've
Oh
heard.
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean I mean I think I don't know. The way I think of it is like anywhere. you get
Yeah.
to challenging part of town and you can run into trouble. But I don't know. I found out there, it's like you kind of get back what you bring to the situation, and
Sure.
it was a pretty positive experience all around in my time there.
My my grandmother is from Hawaii. Actually,
Oh yeah.
she was a McIntyre. So she was. I think the McIntyre family was one of the first like white people ever to go to Hawaii. She's in the Hawaiian Historical Art Society. She was a painter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's got some really cool stuff out there. Actually, they did she made a sculpture, and I think it's at the university. I don't know which one, somewhere in Hawaii. It's a big garden with a sculpture that she made
Oh,
a
cool.
hundred years ago. Yeah.
And what island was she on? Do you know?
I don't know. My brother was just there. I think it's Oahu.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He was just there. He just opened another office out there. He's a CEO kind of business guy, and he was out
Gotcha.
there doing business. I think he's in London right now. He's one of those guys.
Yeah.
So tell me about Doug. How long have you known Doug? Did you guys go to school together? Or?
No, I know Doug through social media initially is how we met, and I just thought, man, I don't know. He's got that energy, such a good positive person, and he's always like putting the quality of the aesthetics and the work up, as such a priority, and so we kind of hit it off through through social media initially, and then I went as an attendee to the utilitarian clay conference.
At
Way
Aramont?
back in the day. Yeah, it must have been a dozen or so years ago, and
Yep.
maybe a little bit more even. And yeah, and just met there. And I don't know, have you been to that conference before?
I've been to Aramont quite a few times, actually, but I have
Okay.
not been to Utilitarian Clay. I think I'm going to
Yeah,
go next year. Or is it every 2 years?
every 4 years on that
4 years.
one.
Yep.
But it's just a really special, it's kind of like Ensika, but it's just such a smaller, more intimate setting. And there's so many, I think it's like 8 studios that they kind of assign 2 different people per studio. So you get 16 demos going, uh,
Yeah.
and you can really just kind of deep dive. And so I found pretty quickly that I was spending a lot of time in the studio where Doug was demonstrating, and he's just such a dedicated hard worker. He was there late into the night until they had to close the studios and kick him out, and I just found myself sitting and we chatted up and started a pretty
Yeah.
solid friendship through that.
I really enjoyed my time with him. I'm really looking forward to a moment where him and I get time to sit and just enjoy each other. Like, I think he's just like the same thing you said. I really dig his energy,
Yeah.
and I just like to talk to him more than just our 1 hour show. So we'll get our time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, utilitarian clay is cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like pentaculum. Have you been to a pentaculum there?
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing there, and with that you get all the the different studios and different mediums from around the whole campus, and that
Yeah,
brings a
it
whole
was really cool. Just
great.
metal artists and wood makers and bowl
Yeah.
turners and jewelry people. It was so cool. I just really love it.
Yeah.
I actually had Lynn Habaika on the show the other day.
Oh yeah.
She's been the coordinator for that for the past couple of years.
Oh yeah.
So I said to her, I said, "Hey, I want to be the next coordinator." She said, "Well, a lot of people have showed interest, so
Yeah.
because you have to pick your predecessor or successor, I guess."
Yeah. Yeah. I've had some good friends who were the coordinators of that from the beginning. It was, I think, Jason Burnett started doing that, and then it's changed hands a few times since then.
I think I know. I think I've seen Jason's work. Sam Chumley's a buddy of mine. Him and I kind of hit it off. You know Sam?
I don't. No.
He is he's like the studio manager there. So he's in
Okay.
charge of all the studios. Yep. Really good guy. Makes really cool stuff. Matter of fact, he made
He,
this pig. I'll show you.
he works in clay.
Yeah. He made me this big old crazy pig.
Nice.
See?
With a grenade on it? Is that what that
He's
is?
got a grenade and a hot dog on it. Yeah, he made really cool graphics. Yeah, fun, really
Yeah.
fun guy to hang out with. Oh shoot! And then Lindsay Rogers, she was there.
That's right. She's actually right a mile and a half from here right now over at the Archie Bray for
Yep.
visiting
She's doing
artist
a
trip.
yeah. So tell us about the Bray. How great was that? How much time did you spend there? Are you still
I
there?
was there for the maximum allowed amount of time plus a little bit more.
They had to
They,
kick you
they
out.
give you 24 months of your lifetime to spend as a resident there, and
Ah,
there was a
that
little
sounds
bit of
wonderful.
a hole. I came about 12, 13 years ago maybe. I was living in Durango, Colorado at the time, and applied for the residency with my then wife, Hisu Lee, on the same application. And the idea is that we would split our time in the summer studio for 3 months during the summer, and that worked out really well. And then halfway through the summer, there was an opportunity for a long-term spot, and when the Bray comes calling, you don't really walk away from it.
Yeah, you don't say no. No.
Yeah, so transition from that summer studio, which was going to be 3 months, into the long term, and um, and then that 1 year turned into the second possible year on that, and so that was the time there, and yeah, it was really great. It was a good opportunity for me to figure out what my clay identity was after kind of stripping that away for a year in Korea, making
Hmm.
somebody else's work and not really having to think about what my work was as much as like how do I make this work correctly, which was great.
Yeah.
But then there's also a bit of like atrophy that happens to that part of the brain of like, okay, what is it that I'm going to make? And so, yeah, that kind of got woven into my letter of intent when I applied.
Yeah,
For my,
that's pretty interesting thought. Never thought of that. Once you dive kind of wholeheartedly into something different, it kind of cuts off that part of the brain that was making everything else, right?
yeah. And so I actually used that concept for my letter of intent. And what I was really wanting to do is figure out how I could incorporate the techniques that I had learned in Korea into work that was my own. Um, but as part of that, I wanted to um, limit the number of glazes, like glaze recipes that I would use in my work, and so I limited it to um, a shiny celadon and a satin celadon, and
Hmm.
that was it. And that really allowed me to put my energy towards form and carving pattern development was the idea, and that was good. It's like you pinch off this one part, and that energy has to go somewhere. And in this case, with me kind of actively saying, okay, I want to focus on new patterns and new forms, and so yeah, that was some good growth that came out of that period. Um,
Yeah, I was kind of watching one of your videos. I kind of went down the Adam Field rabbit hole yesterday, trying to make sure I had good things for us to talk about.
sure.
And you had said you had gone to classes, like you stopped making and you were taking classes and you were making little figurines, and I found that really interesting. That every once in a while you got to just kind of go back to playing with clay, right?
Yeah, that was a great workshop that I took. That was something that I was really challenged, especially in the summer studio at the Archie Bray. It's, like there are no walls between the studios, just shelves that you can see right through to the other side. And I
Yeah.
was used to just being isolated in my own studio for a dozen years before that residency. And I,
Yeah.
I
What a shock to
definitely
the system.
It was, yeah, and it actually was a bit of a block for me in terms of being able to make work comfortably. And one of the real benefits to being a resident there at the Bray is that you are allowed to sit in on workshops. And I thought, okay, that's great. I can learn, and I don't have to be in that what felt so high stakes of a situation in that resident artist studio. And so one of the first workshops I took was Chris Staley and Nancy Bloom were co-teaching a 2-week workshop, and
Well,
man,
that sounds fantastic.
talk about somebody who's like creates a
Yeah,
safe space to explore. Like
yeah,
Chris Staley, like that just epitomizes who he is.
yeah.
And that was where the assignment was to, make some sculptures. And so I was probably some of the first, and let's not say the last, but definitely some of the first sculpture that I've worked on outside of, functional pots on the wheel. And there was a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah, what an interesting thing to think about. Like for a potter that's kind of already established, to go and break it down to the most basic, like beginnings again.
Yeah,
Right. That's what a really cool way to refresh your creativity, I guess. Plus, I mean, I don't
absolutely.
know if you had mentioned sort of like being in the resident studio there. Did you feel a little bit of like pressure to make really cool things because you're a resident? Like people they're like expecting you to make great stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And that like speaks a bit to the realities of social media. It's like we get to curate what goes out to the world, and generally the failures are not part of that. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
so then there's all these like all 9 other sets of eyeballs in the room, potentially like scrutinizing what's happening, and yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it took getting used to for me for sure.
yeah. Yeah, like stop looking at me. That's funny. I was playing golf with a kid a couple years ago, and I had like a bad hole. I think I made a double bogey on this hole, and he looks at me and says, "Aren't you a golf professional?" I said, if I could shoot 65 every time, I wouldn't be playing with you right now. You know, you know what I mean? I would be in Hawaii playing with Tiger Woods. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like you said about social media. I try to tell my kids that. I'm like, nobody puts the bad things out on social media that happened that day.
Yeah.
It's always the best parts of their life. That's not the way it really works. But
Right. Unless it's clickbait.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You get people dumping boards of freshly thrown pots so they can get the clicks.
Yes, yes. You're like what? Yeah. It's so funny. Like, I don't know. You see these people with tons of followers, and I'm like, are they a good potter, or are they just good at making fun videos? Because I can't do the videos. I try.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's all. We'll have that conversation when we're done. Yeah. So cool. How did, how did the opportunity for Korea come about? And how young were you? You were really young when the video I watched. Were you 18?
Oh no, no. I had a dozen years under my belt as a professional potter before I went into that.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yep.
so let's see. It was in 2008. So I was. That would have made me 31.
Oh gosh, you're my age. How old are you?
I just turned 49.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
just turned 55. Ugh. This is straight. It's hard to say out loud.
I
I'm
know.
not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
This one for me is like okay, 49 sounds like 50, and I don't feel like a 50-year old, whatever that feels
no, it's
like.
the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
I was telling my wife the other day because I'm always I wear silly colored glasses, and I said to her, I said, I think I figured out why I wear these dumb glasses. And she goes, "Oh, really? Do share." And I said, "Well, if I wear normal like reading glasses, I feel like I look like my grandpa, and I'm I'm not ready yet to look like
yeah,
the old dude down the street. So it's my way of keeping it fresh, I guess. I don't know.
yeah.
So tell me
Um,
more about Korea. So
oh,
was that something you found, or was that something you searched out actively, or?
yeah. It's a few things. So a key thing when I was living in Hawaii, it was this great opportunity for selling pots because you have this steady stream of people who are coming through that are wanting to bring something home to remember this, memorable trip to paradise, tropical paradise. And so kind of gradually figured out that some of the better sales opportunities on the island were at the hotels, and they
Okay.
would
Yep.
host these artist programs, and it was this gradual kind of building up towards getting to what was kind of the top of the line for the in-person artist sales programs was the Four Seasons Resort
Okay.
in Wailea, and and so we ended up doing that, and I say we, it was myself and my then wife Hisu Lee, and I would bring both of our works down once a week and set up a display, and you
Yep.
would just be between the elevators and the amenities of the hotel, and it was amazing. The story I tell on that is the first day I was down there, they wouldn't have competing mediums, so it would be myself, it would be a painter, a jeweler,
Oh, neat. Yep.
textile artist, but a different group each day of the week. So they were really maximizing, what they could do with this program. And
That's cool. Just in the hotel, between the elevators. That's pretty. What a great spot too. Everyone's got to while they're waiting for the elevator. They got to look at your pots.
well, so it's like the elevator, but then it was between the elevator and the restaurant, the elevator and the beach, the elevator and the spa, and all
And
the
you had a
amenities.
captive audience.
People had to walk through these breezeways, and so I'm sitting next to a painter who made these really beautiful paintings, and a woman in her bathing suit on her way to the beach walks up, and they have like a 5-minute chat, and she's gone, and he's got a big smile on his face. I'm like, what was that about? And he says,
Uh huh.
oh, she just bought this painting and handed me a card that just had, her 3 addresses on it. And it's not a business card. It's just her, addresses in London,
3
New York,
addresses. Okay.
London, New
Yeah.
York, and Paris, right? And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
he's going to have it shipped to the London or Paris location. And that painting had a $40,000 price tag on it.
Wow.
And so that was the moment where I was
Wow.
like, oh, I'm not at the swap meet or the farmer's market anymore. Um,
Yeah.
and anyways, really fascinating 3 years of my life selling at the Four Seasons. I learned so much about, I came into it really thinking that sales was kind of this kind of dirty necessity of making a living in art
Yeah.
and play, and came out of it thinking, actually, it doesn't have to be that. It can be this really helpful service to, in that case, people who had the money and wanted to, have something memorable to bring home from their trip, and not just something that was like an import something down at the souvenir shop. And so I
Yeah.
became
A leg.
kind of their
Yeah.
tour guide to say, here are some really great options, and it really, I left that really realizing that that was a service that I was able to offer. So it really switched my way of thinking about the sales side of
Yeah.
things.
That's very
Uh,
cool. I have a new goal now, by the way. I want my business card to have 3 different addresses on
I
it.
know, right? um,
That's pretty wild.
and so, yeah, really a great program. And, the question often is like, well, why aren't you still on Maui at the Four Seasons Resort? And actually, a lot of my friends who were in that program are still doing it. And at the time, went through one of the more challenging events in my life, which was, the unexpected loss of my father. He was only 60
Oh, wow.
at the
Mhm.
time, and just had a massive heart attack. And it was like surprise, as life can hand you sometimes. And by that time we had my son Juno. He was about 2.5, 3, and some of the reflecting on that was just like, yeah, it's great to live in paradise, but it really does feel like life outside of that, like my family back home in Colorado, was on
Hmm.
pause when in fact life keeps on moving. And if we're away from it for too long, then stuff like that can really pass us by. So that
Yeah.
was where, we made the decision to spend some time in Korea, because my son Juno had really gotten English language pretty solid by then, 2.5, 3, and we wanted him to have an easier go at learning his mother's native tongue of Korean and getting to
Hmm.
know the family over there. And so that was really the reason for us to move to Korea.
Oh,
And
okay.
there were a few really key logistical parts to that made it make sense for us. One is if you're married to a Korean citizen, spouse or any direct family members get a one-time, 1-year visa to
Oh,
visit
okay.
instead of the standard 3 months. And so that was a really big benefit. And and they have a really interesting rental situation there where you pay a pretty large deposit, and then you only pay, for like a 1-year term is what we did. Then you only pay uh, utilities for your time every month that you're there. And
Really?
then at the end of that period, in our case 1 year, we got the deposit back in full, which
What?
sounded like somehow tricked the foreigner, when I
Yeah.
did the research on it, and sure enough, that was the case, and so that really made it doable, and this brings up a point, which is like, fortunately we were in a really privileged position after the Four Seasons program for 3 years to have that lump sum. It was no small amount, but what was kind of revealed to me is that like the story that you hear of like someone going off to Japan or Korea or China to do the traditional apprenticeship,
Yep.
um, like usually a big part of that story that's left out is like it takes money to go and do that and to not be really making money during the time you're learning.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have had some savings from the Four Seasons, and plus the fact that their rental situation, if you can call it that, in Korea was such that it allowed for us to be able to do that. But to get to the root of your question, we had visited my in-laws in Korea the year before we moved there, as a
Hmm.
scouting trip to to see, the logistics, how we could make it work with our move there. And um, my mother-in-law had been living in Ichun, which a lot of the clay audience will recognize as the home to the biennial, one of the largest cash prizes and ceramic juried exhibitions in the world. And
Oh,
it's really pottery central in Korea.
okay.
And so that was really cool to know that like that would be, we wanted to live close to her, so that would be a part of it. But the other thing is, she on our visit said, hey, my friends took me to this ongi studio and to buy some fermentation jars, and I think it might be something that Adam would be really interested in. So we went to visit, and there was one person working there, and he was just head down glazing pots in the studio, and we kind of peeked in, but sheepishly, didn't want to bother
Hmm.
him too much, and looked around. Finally, he kind of got to a stopping point, and there was some conversation, and uh, my wife translated, saying, "Hey, we're moving here. He's got good experience as a ceramic artist and would be interested in learning." And it was really straightforward. It was just like, give us a call 2 weeks before you guys move to Korea, and he wants to start, and we can
Oh,
make it
wow.
happen.
Oh,
And then
wow.
he spoke the fateful words, though, as we were parting. His final words were, "It'll be hard."
I was gonna say it ain't gonna be easy.
Yeah, and no truer words have ever been spoken to me before or since then. Yeah, it was the hardest physically exerted experience of my life since.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. Like I actually wrote down on my notes here, like you had mentioned, I was watching one of your throwing demos, which I think I probably watched 16 years ago for Ceramics Arts Daily.
Oh, yep.
Um, and you had mentioned you bring your wheel up because you had some back issues, and my wheel is on cinder blocks over there as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But I wrote down back issues is you think that's from rolling those giant coils on the floor? I mean, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was like definitely an adjustment period where it was like really tough, but then part of what happens when you're squatting to work on the floor like that is that your hamstrings really start to extend and stretch. And so there was the adjustment period, and then it got a lot better. But I think in the long term of all of it, I think after the fact, like the long term effects,
Yeah.
have stayed with me, and I'm actually currently started 2 weeks ago a round of PT for that, which I don't know. I'm like probably a lot of us where it's like to actually do the thing and to do it consistently is a big challenge for me, but it's been great. I've been doing a lot of like stretching and core strengthening,
Yep.
and it's been super helpful.
It's weird when you get older, isn't it? Because I mean, I still feel like a teenager, and I was telling someone a story the other day. Like I was playing golf with a friend a couple years ago, and I was sitting in the golf cart, and he was, he was probably 65 feet away, and he hit a shot, and he didn't like it, and he goes, "Hey, throw me a ball," and I go like this, Adam. I take a ball, and I go like that, and I go, "Ow!" I'm like, and I threw it like 50 feet. It wasn't like I tried to throw it a football field. I was like,
Right.
come on, what is going on? But I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, how fun was making ongies? I mean, those look like a blast. I mean, and how crazy is that? That's kind of cool. That's kind of what you do now. I saw in one video where the guy had the walls you made were too thick, and he squished your whole pot back down.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that was all. So while I was doing my apprenticeship, I did some rough math. It's not precise, but I probably made about 500 jars, and I started with one that was probably about 4 gallons, 20 liters, right in there.
Yep.
And then they had me making them on repeat until I zeroed in on getting all the measurements and wall thickness and all of that right. But in between each of those, it was wire it down the middle, check the wall thickness, reuse the clay until it got too hard to work with. It would go back into the studio mix, and they would make, production pots for the studio out of that clay. I'd get a
Wow.
fresh lump of clay. And so in the year that I was apprenticing, I made about 500 jars. I would graduate up to the next size once I perfected a certain size. So it was like these incrementally larger and larger pots. And the time to perfection of each of those sizes was gradually and incrementally decreasing because of the accumulative learning on that.
Yeah.
But they would throw me a bone and let me keep a pot to go all the way through the process when they saw me getting really discouraged, which there were many times where I was like, oh man, what am
Let
I
him have
doing?
one.
I would take the bus. I had like a 20-minute bus ride, and I was in like clay covered clothes. Everybody else on the bus was school uniforms, perfectly, cleaned and laundered and all of that. And I was the foreign guy, covered
Yeah.
in clay. And I'd get off the bus and I'd have like a 200-yard walk to the studio. And those were the moments where I was just like, oh man, what in the world am I doing in the middle of the
What am I
countryside
doing here?
in a
That's
foreign
funny.
country? Yeah.
When I was younger, I was stationed in Keflavik, Iceland, and I
Oh yeah.
remember I remember landing on the plane and waking up and like looking out the window as we're taxiing down the runway. And I don't know if you've ever been there. It's lava fields,
Oh wow.
and I was like, "Oh my God, how did I get here? Like, what did I do?
Where on the planet am I? Yeah.
Yes, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah.
Oh, it's terrifying." But
And
so
so
out of
after, well, after to finish that story, after all of my time there, I came away from it with 2 pots that didn't get cut out of 500.
I was gonna say, how many did you get? Really? Two?
Yeah.
Wait, 2 pots that they deemed were good.
That they deemed like, oh, we need to boost this guy's energy a little bit. And a lot of times, I mean, like all of them that got cut, I mean, there was a certain decent percentage by the time I got farther along in my time there that would have been keepers. But the thing was, they had a lot of pre-sales, especially on their larger pots. And so to have a pot made by an apprentice taking up kiln space on space for a pot that was already sold, they weren't going to take that risk. And so it was like, you can
Yeah.
come and learn. And I did just about every other task that was needed doing in the studio as well at any given time. If we had to split wood or deliver
Sure.
pots were my favorite days, because I could go and explore and not be draining my energy so much in the studio.
Well, I was watching them talk about the wall thickness when the guy cut your pot there, and my first thought was, oh my God, that's got to be really hard with paddles to make that a normal thickness. Like it's hard enough on a wheel.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So
that adjustment period, I think, like, I definitely had some benefits coming in as an experienced potter, but there is the
yep.
flip side of that where it's like, teaching an old dog new tricks as well. So I had that adjustment, but I was really fortunate. The ongi technique is the only wheel throwing in Korea that goes counterclockwise for the shaping.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw
And
you
that's
kicking the opposite way with your left foot.
You pull it with your left foot. Yeah. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is it's actually multi-tiered reasoning behind that. It's, because it's such a large pot and you're changing directions, whether you're adding coils and it's going clockwise, or, if you're shaping and it's going counterclockwise. So that means you have to speed up and slow down the wheel a lot. So they don't want a really heavy flywheel on there. And so the result of that is that you need a wheel that you can be continuously kicking as you work.
Yeah, a lot.
In Korea, far and away, people are right-handed. That's just the cultural
Okay. Yep.
designation.
I'm a lefty.
It's
Yep.
same here.
You're a lefty?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so what that means is if your dominant hand is the strength hand, which is paddling, which is shaping on that outside hand, then you're going to be working on the right side of the pot, right?
Yep.
So you can't plant for stability and kick the wheel like most other wheel kicking traditions on the right side. So you plant firmly and you pull the wheel with your left foot is the reasoning for that. As lefties, you may enjoy this, and maybe you already know this one, but when it comes to learning pottery in America and coming into a studio, maybe for your first community class, and being like, well, I'm left-handed, and the teacher says, oh, we'll have to get it going clockwise for you. That's actually opposite. Everybody in the States is throwing left-handed, because if we go back to some of the older wheel throwing traditions, Far East, Southeast Asia, dominant hand is on the inside of the pot, right?
Yep.
So as lefties, we've got our dominant hand in there, but I would say that as a left-handed potter.
That's interesting, because if I'm throwing, I throw on the right-hand side at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching the video yesterday, and that really stuck out. I said, why is he kicking that the opposite way with his left foot? Oh, there we go. I like kick wheels. I like the leech, the treadle wheel. Those are really fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't
You
done
know
a lot
why?
of throwing on those, but a little bit.
Say that again.
I haven't done much throwing on the treadle wheel, but there was a point years back where I did a little bit of that.
What I like about it is it makes me slow down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I used to like to trim on kick wheels. Nowadays, I trim by hand. I just gouge the feet out.
Yeah.
I kind of like it that way. Like, like I just kind of chunk them out here. Look at this one.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Single
I just
rotation gets the whole thing done.
yeah. So I have like one of those V-shaped tools, and I just use the corner, brip, 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 and then I do the inside, and then I chunk the feet, and I go next. I like the freedom in it. I like that it's different every single time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Plus, it takes, and then I make these bases. I make these like bisque bases, and I build off of them
Oh yeah.
because so the base for this one is this. This is the bottom.
Got it.
So,
So it makes
so
a
it's just
foot when you press the clay
yeah,
into
the
it.
foot's done. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a pookie.
Yeah.
So those are great for when I want to hand build because then I can build a giant pot and then I don't have to worry about the base. It's done. Yeah. So you still make tons of ongi, right? Is that what you sell the most of?
Yeah, so there was like this identity crisis, let's say, when I got back from Korea, and it's like I know deeply how to make these traditional Korean pots, but I'm not in Korea, I'm not Korean. What do I do with that? And was really kind of shying away from it, but I had documented my apprenticeship on YouTube, and from that, there was this slow trickle of fermenters, which just like we have our clay community, man, the fermentation community is like I've discovered through this. It's like such a big and passionate community, and I think a certain percentage of them were like, oh, there's somebody who's making ongi jars who lives in the U.S. And so slowly I kind of would take some orders here and there, and still was a little bit conflicted about it. But some of what I was seeing in the meantime was, like on Etsy or online sales, I would see people selling, quote, kimchi pots. And
Yeah.
I just done like the deepest dive that you can do on that for a year.
Yep.
On what defines a kimchi pot, and these weren't it.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
They,
No.
they held objects or food, which was, like the bare minimum requirement, but like a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of ability to the clay and glaze combination and the shape itself and how the sun hits it to collect heat from the sun and all of that, which all contributes to a good traditional ferment. None of it was there. And I think I complained to enough of my clay friends to where eventually one of them was like, well, it sounds like you need to be the solution that's out there if you're not seeing it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that was like a shift of approach for me. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I can complain about it all day. But if I'm not actually providing an alternative,
Yeah. What's the
and
point?
like carrying some of the education that I, learned in Korea, and my teachers were really generous to share that with me, and that was like their send off to me. I got this really great, kind of like a diploma looking document in Korean.
Oh, cool.
That hangs on my wall
Yep.
over there. And they just said, like essentially go forth and prosper and like spread the good word. And there was that moment of realization of like, oh, actually, by me continuing this and telling the accurate story, that's actually, doing my teachers as proud as I could for what
Yeah.
they did. So, that was a turning point. And then right around that time, I was going to teach a workshop at Brooklyn Clay, and a week before, got an email and saw that it was from Momofuku Restaurant Group. And I
Yeah.
was
Is that
like,
David Chang's?
yeah, I'm like, this is not an advertisement for the restaurant. This is them reaching out, and probably hooped and hollered a little bit as I opened the email and
Yeah.
scared my kids. I think they were upstairs, like, everything okay down in the studio? Anyways, they said, we see that you're going to be teaching in our neck of the woods. We have a project we're working on. Wonder if you might be able to make some time to meet with us. And so, I
Yeah.
sat on my hands for 23 and a half hours so that I didn't seem too eager. And and then got back to him and said, yeah, I think I should be able to make some time to meet with you.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do. Yeah. I really like David Chang. I've watched his show a couple times. He seems like a really cool dude.
Yeah, I mean he's a pretty straight shooter for sure,
Yeah.
and yeah, and I had been to his restaurants in Manhattan in the past, and was like, actually at a certain point was like, man, if there would be a way to work with this restaurant group, that'd be great. But didn't really have any connection. So anyways, ended up making traditional ongi fermentation jars for their first West Coast restaurant. And yeah, and I think like we had negotiated some PR from them, so that people could know who was making the work,
Yep.
And that really translated into this great transition into making these functional pots and being a source for traditionally made ongi here in the States, which
Yeah. I mean, is there anybody else making them in the States making them correctly?
a few people, but they're kind of focused on other things. Bandana Pottery. Michael
Oh,
Hunt
yeah. Mm-hmm.
went over there
Yeah.
and studied. I actually called him about a month before I was going to be like, hey, what should I know? And he was really gracious and had some good conversation about that.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, it's interesting now with, Kwak Kyung Tae teaches these immersive ongi workshops at his studio in Icheon, the town where we lived. But he's also traveling all over the world these days teaching these ongi workshops. And that's been a really interesting development. And I think it's great. I'm like, more the merrier if we can have people who can appreciate and understand these techniques, then that's great.
Yeah.
And so,
I tell people that. I tell my boss that all the time at the golf course. I say competition is good for business.
yeah,
Right? So explain to me
that's
what the I was listening to what you were saying there about the ongi pot. So explain to me the correct way to make it. So is the lid flat because you want it to catch the sun?
the sun part has more to do with the shape of the body of the pot than the lid.
So it hits the shoulders?
Yeah, so this is a really cool thing that I learned, and that is, depending on where you're at latitude-wise in the Korean Peninsula, you have a variation of form, and the further south you go, the more shoulder there is, the more volume. Whereas the further north you go, it's more of a straight, and it's all that angle that the sun is hitting the pot, because
Okay.
with fermentation. When it's replicated in a kitchen, so you can actually not have to wait for the clouds to move and all of that, there will be very precisely adjustable, it's like a refrigerator, but you can bump it up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit or 130,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you're trying to make, whether it's tempeh or miso, and it will speed up the process. And so essentially that's what was happening with these. You have a dark glaze, which will absorb the heat, but then you have the form as well.
Okay.
And so those are some of these really great, like, old school, high tech, low tech techniques for kind of working
Yeah.
with what nature brings.
That's very neat. What is that dark glaze? Is that just a Tomoku or?
It's similar. It's a low temp clay that's really high iron. So think red art
Okay.
and wood ash, and that's the combination that my teachers taught me. There are some other regional variations where you could throw some decayed leaf matter in there as well. That's
Uh-huh.
not something that my teachers were doing, but there were ongi potters in the region that would add that. But really simple. And now that I've come back, and that was in a 50-50 mix. And now that I'm back and have done a lot of testing, I've found that red art, 1 part wood ash to 3 parts red art by weight is what I make my glaze out of,
Okay.
and
And what
it
do you
works really well. Super
what do you
stable.
fire them? What do you fire
I
them
fired
to?
to cone 7.5, which I'm using a high fire clay, but I'm under firing it to keep it open and breathable. And then I almost hesitate to call that a glaze because it's more like a slightly vitreous slip or engobe. And
Uh-huh.
that in itself is actually breathable too.
So that's very interesting. So you under fire it because you don't want it fully vitrified?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and
what
that
does that
allows
do?
for like some respiration so you can actually get oxygen transfer happening through the walls.
Yeah, yeah,
And that
yeah.
helps for a more, vibrant, vital ferment.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, the ongi
So,
pots are referred to as a breathing vessel in Korean.
oh, no kidding. I'll write that down. So, what is the? How come nobody puts a handle on top of the lid? Why do they keep it flat?
So, if you
Is
have
that
a
a dumb
really
question?
no,
Like,
it's a great question. Thank you. You're lining it up for me to swing away here. So,
yeah,
if you have, um, let's see here.
because I see that form and I go, gosh, that thing needs a handle.
Yeah. So we're gonna make believe that this is a 50-gallon jar,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Okay.
for ferments that don't require heat from the sun, like kimchi, I always thought that they would bury these because that's kind of the lore around them is you bury it. I
Yeah.
always thought that was to keep it cool, right, during hot because
Uh-huh.
it's really hot and humid in Korea. But if you think about it, if you're fermenting kimchi, that's generally cabbage or radish, like daikon. Those are fall crops, and
Yeah.
their winter survival food. And so you bury this
Oh,
below the frost line, so it's up to about here. And imagine this is massive, and you're out in the yard where it's buried, and you need to get food from point A to point B. You flip this over, and you take some food and put it into this basin, and then you can carry it into the kitchen. And
oh.
you will see on some of the bigger ones there are handles. And I've had a few potter friends who are, replicating ongi
They're on the
forms,
sides.
and they put the handles on the side of this lid right here. But
Yeah.
the really common mistake is they'll put it looped like this so you can hook your hands under like that when it's right side up. But
Mm-hmm.
that's actually wrong.
Yeah.
You have it so that they're open towards the sky so that when it's a basin, then you can carry it more easily. Um,
Darn it. See?
and the other side of it too is these bigger ones have a much taller wall on it than this smaller lid does.
Yeah.
And the part there is before there were big plastic mixing basins, you have to mix all the ingredients to put into the jar in the first place. And so that's another use for the lids.
Oh, very interesting. I knew there was a reason for that. Been doing it for 1,000 years, and someone had to think about putting handles on it.
Yeah.
So there's also no groove on the inside of that, Adam. There's no like if this is the lid, there's no groove in here to kind of hold it in the pot. It's just flat inside.
Yeah. So see the overhang on this rim?
Yeah.
That
Yep. That little
is
lip. Yep.
for a cloth, either cheesecloth or waxed linen if you want to seal it, really, to be
Yep.
draped over, and then you can, with some twine or something like that, tie it off tight to seal it. The lid really is to keep critters and water, precipitation out of your
Yeah.
ferment, but the
Yeah. No frogs, no
airlock,
kimchi.
yeah, yeah. The airlock is more what you fasten to the top than the
Okay.
fit of the lid.
I was watching a really interesting documentary the other day. It was it was the Korean oh gosh, they were the monks, and it was like how they cook and what they eat. They roast their own sesame seeds and stuff,
Oh yeah.
and they will like freeze dry their vegetables and then heat them up and cook them again and gets them through the winter.
Oh yeah.
But I find that stuff fascinating. My kids are like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, I want to
Yeah.
know what these people are doing. That's cool as hell.
It's been a really good window for me into, somebody who grew up in the late 90s, and just kind of took for granted the fact that, like, food comes in, you know, and
Yeah,
is
a bag.
preserved through electronic refrigeration, and
Yeah.
just took that as gospel. And it's like, well, we've had electronic refrigeration for a blip on the whole range of human history.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
We've made
before
it through
that,
somehow.
there were all kinds of food preservation options. But once there's a utility company that stands to profit from everybody's got to have that steady flow of electric use, all of a sudden these ancient traditions of food preservation and survival is really what it is.
Yeah.
Um, get pushed to the side. Let's not look at that. Let's not talk about it. Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, it has me a lot more interested in alternative food preservation outside of
Yeah.
refrigeration.
In upstate New York, we call them root cellars.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's just a cold cellar.
yeah.
Um, so I was watching you on your documentary you did of your time in Korea there, and I was watching you wedge the clay with that hammer, and I was
Oh
thinking,
yeah,
how many times did you hit yourself in the foot with that? Because you
didn't
were doing
happen.
it barefoot.
Yeah,
You never
yeah.
tagged your toe.
No, no. It was the stakes were too high.
I was thinking OSHA would have a field day with that. It's
Right.
like,
Well, what you don't see as much of is like we were mixing clay from the raw, right out of the ground clay,
yep,
and
yep,
there was essentially a slip mixer where there was water coming in one side, and we would shovel clay in the other side, and it would mix it at a speed where just the fine particles would float up to a hole in the side of this big container, cylinder,
yep.
where it would skim off just the finest of particles, and then the gravel and all that would stay at the bottom of the mixer until we
Oh
had to
wow, okay.
empty it out. It would then go through a sieve that was mechanically agitated to make sure if any of those pebbles did make it through that it couldn't get through the sieve. And then it would dump into, catch this, 12 foot by 12 foot square pit, 18 feet deep with a big mixer in it. And there was no
No,
handrail.
yeah, nothing
No
to see here.
handrail.
Yeah.
A big tractor motor that was operating the blades on that front.
Wow.
Um,
When I was in
but
the
yeah,
Navy, my commander was stationed in Korea for a while, and when I would get in trouble, which was inevitable, he would say, "Oh boy, you're in deep kimchi." So I see. Let's talk. Let's get back to sort of like now time.
yeah,
So I see you're doing one-on-one sessions at your place. That seems awesome.
yeah, yeah. So there's a fun story on that, which is, you know, I taught a lot of workshops over the years. I think if I tallied it all up, maybe in the ballpark of about 300 traveling workshops.
Yep.
And it's great, and there was a ton to be learned, and it was predictable income, which is sometimes hard to come by in this field, that I could plan 6 months to a year out on. And the other flip side of that is that's a lot of time away from home, family,
Yep.
studio.
Yep.
Um, and so, gradually started to be like, yeah, that needs to change, and shifted towards hosting workshops from my studio here. And the first couple that I hosted were, about 10 people on average. And that was great, but I also had to wrangle up wheels from my generous pottery community here for that,
Hmm.
um, and tear my studio apart ahead of the workshop by about a week, and then
Yeah.
put it all back together for the week following the workshop. And so, it had its downsides. The flip side to it was that the lion's share of the money coming in wasn't going to the hosting venue, or it was, but I was the hosting venue. So,
Yeah.
those were kind of the give and take of it.
Yeah.
And so I was booking, advertising, and selling spots for two more workshops in early 2020, and sold the last of the spots in February of 2020. And,
Hmm.
uh, and so I had to, put together an email to everybody to say, hey, not sure what this thing is that has hit, but you
Yeah.
know, it would be a financial hardship for me to refund everybody at this point. Are you okay with me holding credit for something in the future?
Yeah. For next
Everybody
time.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were great about it. Um, there was one person about a week or two later who reached back out and said, you know, where I am is super isolated. There's nothing's going on with COVID. Any chance you'd be open to me? He's like, I was really looking forward to this. Any chance you would be comfortable with it? And at first it was like a no, because it's like to teach a whole
Yeah.
workshop to one person, like, uh, I don't think so. But then, you know, the more I thought about it, it's like, I want to chip away at these credits that I'm holding. And so, sure, like, let's give it a try.
Hmm.
Uh,
That seems
understanding
great
you,
to me. I mean, that would be wonderful for both. I would think. I'd love that.
yeah. Well, and the understanding is that it wasn't going to be like 8 hours of teaching in a
Yeah,
day
we're gonna throw
for a
pots
week
together. Yeah.
straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you'll have a workspace. I'm going to be doing demos in the morning every day.
Yep.
But then, you know, I want to discuss what your goals are coming into this so we can kind of custom uh, tailor what I'm going to be producing at the time towards what your goals are.
Yeah.
And so halfway through the week, you know, we were having a conversation. He says, I've taken a lot of workshops over the years, and like, you really need to think about offering something like this. And so that was kind of the birth of what I'm calling a studio shadow session, is what I
Hmm.
call it. People can shadow me in the studio, and we set up a custom curriculum. And it's been really great. I set a goal to do 1 week out of every month to have somebody here, and on average, it's probably been about that, if not a little bit less.
Hmm.
And that's manageable. Actually, the funny reality of it is, I'm actually more productive at making work during those sessions because I want people to see a lot of stuff getting made.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that also means that I'm not doing all the boring stuff like email as much when people are here.
Yeah. Yeah. What a
So
really cool idea that turned into, like something that was sort of like, out of out of nowhere turned into something great, and you like changed your practice for that. That's really cool how you can just kind of go with the flow, and it ends up being a good thing.
it's great, and
Um,
I can go home to dinner with the family at the end of the day. You know.
yeah, my wife has a frame shop here, and I could make my studio twice as big, and I want to have like 4 or 5 people over at a time, but I also don't want it to be so kind of packed in. I want them to enjoy themselves. So that's a really cool idea. I teach workshops kind of the same way you do. I do a demo in the morning, and then we'll play with clay for a little while. We'll have some lunch, and I'll do a demo in the afternoon. And you know, I have one coming up in Virginia, and I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to start the workshop off by saying I am not a ceramic educator. you know, I don't have an MFA. I'm not a professor. I'm going to teach you how to make pots the way I make them, and I believe that's why you're here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just have fun. I want to have fun with people in the studio.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've really had great experiences with people. I think that's the one thing that my peers that are professional ceramic artists say, like, that seems like a big risk to just have people in your spot for an extended period of time. And, you know,
Yeah,
I kind of, fortunately, we live in the age of social media, so you can kind of vet people that way.
yeah,
But
you
I,
can
I
check
have a
them
few
out.
phone calls before we, you know, like make things
Yeah,
final, and you can get a real sense of where people are coming from, you know.
yeah, absolutely. I would do a FaceTime too. Like, let's make sure our personalities match before you come to my house for a week. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and fortunately, there is some separation of things. So the property that I'm on here is a property that I purchased after my divorce and before, you know, meeting my current wife. And
Hmm.
so once Jesse and I got married and, you know, talked through things, it made sense with her house in town closer to school for the kids and all of her friends for that to be home base. And this property is the main house is Airbnb. Upstairs of my studio, this is a 3-story building. I have porcelain stoneware on this level and Airbnb upstairs.
Oh,
Um,
great.
and so it at least has that bit of separation where like this is pretty much a full-time business property.
Yeah, you like leave and go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah, which
I've been
was a
looking
hard
for.
sell at first because it was like I had my compound, but it is nice to have that separation as well.
Yeah, yeah. I've been looking for a space to open like a just a like a creative art studio, or just to have like,
Yeah.
6 wheels and a bunch of shelf units and two big kilns, and just to have people over to make stuff. That's just kind of what I want to do. It's just not that easy. I don't want to get a $140,000 loan either.
Yep.
But I
Yeah.
I like what you just said. I wrote that down. I'm probably going to incorporate that into my workshops going forward. Is starting it off by saying, what are your goals for the week here? Like, why are you here? You know.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
So
And
what? Go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. Yeah, that's been really helpful because then, usually I'm booking about 6 months ahead of time on these. And by, zeroing in on what their goals are, that helps me to know whether we're going to be in the stoneware studio or down in the porcelain studio because it's,
Yep.
quite a different experience from one to the other. And yeah, just hoping that, and that is one of the real benefits to doing something like this where it's one-on-one is that if you're in a group workshop setting, generally you'll have 20 people coming with 20 slightly different goals for outcome. So we can really fine tune it.
I mean, I don't know how it is for you. I'm sure it's a little different because you've done 300 workshops. But for me, I love doing it so much. But at the same time, I get this terrible anxiety beforehand. Like, oh my God, I have to entertain these people for a week, and I gotta keep them busy, and they gotta leave with something good, and hopefully they learn something. And it's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yes, yeah, it's a responsibility. People, I'm. That's like one of the standard things I'll say at a workshop is like, I am so thankful and surprised that you've taken your week, your weekend, your Saturday
Yeah.
afternoon to come out and be in the same room and you know and share this time. And yeah, and so like that, I take that so seriously. I really want that to be something that
Yeah.
you know that I'm
Yeah.
able to
No,
offer.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. They're taking time out of their life to spend time with you, which is really
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you ever going to take on an ongi apprentice and put him through the ringer like you went through, or?
Yeah, I've had a couple of really talented, skilled folks come through, um, and it's a hard thing. Ideally, I'm always on the lookout for somebody who wants to try on a full time ongi production studio, and I'll give everything away in terms of knowledge and technique and all of that.
Yeah.
But you learn pretty quickly that there are all of these logisticals that come into the mix. Usually, they're coming from afar, so you have to figure out housing, which, like everywhere, is really tricky and challenging right now because,
Yeah, inexpensive.
and currently I'm part of that problem with my short term rentals, but we also have a toddler, so it was like something's got to give. So
Yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
down the line we'll go back to long-term rental, but
Well,
um,
you fired to cone 7.5. I mean, do you have a big? Is it a gas kiln? Is it huge? Like, how many pots can you do at a time if they're big ongis?
I so I guess part of that answer is that I have much more demand for 1 and 2 gallon ongi than I was doing numbers on it from a couple of years back, and I think it was like scratching at like 400 of the 1 gallon, maybe about half of that for 2 gallon, and
In a
then
year?
in a year, and then
Okay.
maybe like 40 or 50 of the 3 gallon, but then it dropped way off, and I think I had like 15 5 gallon, and then anything above that was in probably single digits.
Yeah, that's
And
a lot of
so
kimchi, 5 gallons, right?
it's a lot, it's a lot of kimchi. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did have, um, okay, here's my oldness. Give me a second. Ted, um, Neil built
Yep.
me an amazing kiln that has about 80 cubic feet of interior space.
Wow.
Yeah, you can fit a small family in there, no problem.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah. I think the average kiln is like 5 or 7, right?
Yeah, I mean, so the kiln that I do my carved porcelain in, which takes much longer, and those pieces end up being much smaller as well. That's a 12 cubic foot kiln.
Are
Um,
those gas? Those porcelain ones?
they are, yeah, and I fire them to about 10 and a half, 11 to get
Okay.
that translucency and the celadon glaze moving a little bit through the carved lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that blue celadon carved. It's kind of iconic at this point. I mean, I can see it from across the room. Like
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I still love making that work. I I have I try to keep special pots around. This one was from the first ever firing from this studio, and I thought
Oh,
I
neat.
should probably keep that just as
Yeah,
the occasion.
that's a beauty. I saw you doing the carving as I was looking down your YouTube yesterday for the Canadian Pottery Throwdown. That must have been a
Oh yeah,
blast, huh?
yeah. That was fun.
I've
It
been
was
trying
a
to get a hold of I've been trying to get a hold of the BBC for a couple of years. Like, why are you not doing an American version of the Great Pottery Throwdown? And it's funny, I went to the BBC website and right on their main page it says we do not accept ideas for new shows. I was like, oh well, click. But I
yeah. I
think that
mean,
would be a huge hit in the US, don't you?
yeah, you would think so, and so did Seth Rogen, and so he really shopped it around Hollywood, and they just didn't bite, and so he was able to take it to Canada and partnered with a production company up there, and the Gem streaming platform is
Yeah.
home to. But yeah, it was fun. It was quite a lightning round of a trip. We worked a 14-hour day, and mostly outside of that, I was like sleeping the night before in the hotel and the night afterwards, and I was on a plane. It was quick, but it was fun to jump into it very secretly.
Yeah, yeah. Production is. I used to work for a commercial company in my early 20s, and
Oh yeah,
you do a lot of sitting around waiting for the lighting guy.
oh yeah,
Just
yeah,
waiting. But let's jump back there because you mentioned Seth Rogen, and I've
sure,
been saying all along, if you've seen the show, one of my goals is to get Seth on the show. So
yeah. I wish
I
you
want.
luck because I think you'll need it. Not any any diss to you, but he
Yeah,
just
he's a
has
busy
gone
guy.
from he's gone from popular to the next level in the last couple of years, with
Yeah, he sure
winning
has. Yeah.
serious awards and all that. And even before that, I think he was just super selective about anything he would do. It was funny when I connected with him and visited his studio. I was bombarded with every form of communication you can imagine. People from the clay world reaching out and being like, one, how the hell did you pull that off? And two, usually there was some proposal of some sort for an idea. And so
You're like, I'm not the guy.
pretty early on, I made it my stance on that to just say, hey, I
Yeah,
don't I don't want my connection with him to be in any way transactional, and
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
means
Yeah. So
that I'm not gonna propose things to
I
him.
saw that you got to throw with him and Mundo Bang. How
Oh
fun was
yeah.
that?
Oh, it was a dream. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
I'd
great.
love to
And
watch Mundo throw.
yeah,
Is
he
he
and I
just
go
that
way
freakish
back.
with porcelain or what?
Yeah, he's just that good. He and I met way back, even before we moved to Korea. We would go to visit family, and in Korea, much like Japan, some of like the higher quality shows, exhibitions take place in the department stores in the big cities.
Hmm.
which to say it here with the American context is like, oh, that doesn't seem like very high quality, but over there, like that's where the good shows for at least that time frame were happening. And
Oh, neat. Yeah.
we walked up and he was like, of the dozen or so people that were in person representing their work, it was like, this dude is doing amazing work in porcelain, and the prices were great, and so we just like loaded up.
Oh,
Um,
really?
and it was great. It was at a time where I think he was feeling a little bit like questioning his abilities and really putting himself out in the world at that point. And this probably was like 2000 and 4 or 5 or something like that. So he was
Oh,
like
okay.
fresh.
Yeah, quite a while ago. Hmm.
Yeah. And yeah. So, anyways, we in my limited Korean and his limited English at the time ended up. Well, no, this a couple of years later when we did go back there, connected again, and we just essentially hopped on a computer in his studio and went through all of our favorite potters. Was our way to communicate
Oh, yeah, yeah.
over here. But yeah. So, anyways, when he that was his first trip to the U.S. Um, I just wanted to make it special, and so we were able to line that up over at Seth's and threw pots for half of the day, and then they hosted us for a lunch in their amazing house. And
Yeah. I've seen limited videos of him throwing, and like you said, he's just that good. It's crazy to watch.
yeah, he really is.
There's a
Yeah,
couple other Hollywood guys that are potters too. I think like is it DiCaprio likes to make pots too? I think those guys are having fun,
yeah. I've
which is
heard
great.
that he and Brad Pitt both have art studios. I don't know necessarily that it's throwing pots. From what I've heard, it's more like a sculptural approach, but
Oh,
I don't
cool.
know
Yeah.
that for a fact. I know that somewhere I saw a post about Brad Pitt making his way into aardvark clay to buy some tools.
Oh, neat. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's very cool. I hope they kind of put it out there, for the clay world. I was talking to somebody about this the other day about the clay world. Oh gosh, who was it? But it's not. I think clay is in a good place right now because it's not. It's you can't really streamline it. You can't AI it. You can't. It's you got to go all in with clay, or you're not going to get the same thing out of it.
Yeah.
It can't be taken
Well,
over by
and I think
computer.
like the fact that you can get your hands dirty and it's not like on the other side of a glass screen, like you have to
Yeah,
get in it. And I think that's part of the backlash of all of the, you know, digital realm
yeah,
is,
yeah. There's no
you know,
easy way to do it. You're either in it or you're not. Really, kind of.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
just like feeling the object that you're looking at. We see things from such a distance through the screen all the time to then actually work with a material where it's like you put your hands in it and they're going to get dirty, and that's part of the experience. You're feeling it. I think people are hungry for that. You know.
yeah. I hope so. I hope so. Just for the future of ceramics. Let's see. Oh, so I was watching you center. I love the way you were talking about centering like the ridges, but I also noticed the sponge you use. That looks like a piece of foam. What kind of sponge is that?
Orton pyrometric cone packing material.
That's from it. I knew it.
Yeah,
It's from
yeah,
inside the little white box, right?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and I love it
cool.
because I feel like the yellow cookie of a sponge you get in the beginner's kit of pottery tools is just too thick,
Yeah,
and with this I can really feel what's happening with the clay, but it also holds enough water to keep things from drying out as I'm throwing. So
yeah,
yeah, I swear by the sponge. I go through a lot of them
yeah.
though, especially in the stoneware studio. They get
Yeah.
too
Oh,
rough.
yeah. Absolutely. I noticed those little things. I'm like, wait, that's an Orton sponge. But I
Totally.
like what you did. You were centering just your fingertips and then flattening it out with your left hand, which that makes
Yeah.
that makes great
Yeah, I
sense.
took a workshop. I had this really great boss right out of college in Colorado. I went to school in Durango. I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area and worked at Clay People, is a ceramic supplier that's still going out there
Hmm.
in the East Bay. And the boss was great. He had a budget for us to take classes, and he would give us 100 pounds of clay every month too. so we
Oh,
would
nice.
know the materials we were selling, but also we could expand our knowledge base. So I ended up putting some of that money towards a workshop with Joyce Michaud, if you know who
Mm-hmm.
that is. She was up
Mm-mm.
in Frederick, Maryland. She taught at a school there for years, and she was a hand builder, but she really translated a lot of the mechanics of just working with clay, whether it was hand building or throwing, and really broke it down in a methodical way. And that's where I, you know, when I teach like breaking down centering into like fingertips as small points of contact to break up the wobbles, and then the heel of the hand takes those ridges that you've created in between. All that stuff is kind of verbatim from what I learned by taking her. It was like a master's throwing workshop that I took probably in 2000 or 2001. Learned a ton. I lost audio on your end there.
It's back on. They're back on?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. It's making a weird kind of hiss noise. I don't know what it is.
Oh no.
Um, I used to live in the San Bruno area back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, San Francisco is fun. It's really hard to drive stick in San Francisco. You know
You
what I
know,
learned?
that's
I
so
learned the
funny you
trick.
mention it. Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
learned the trick. You pull the emergency brake, put it in first gear, get going, and then so you don't hit the guy behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, my girlfriend that I moved out there with from Colorado, she had a stick shift car, and that's where I really learned how to drive stick was in San Francisco. Because if you can do it there,
You can do,
you can do
yeah.
it
You know what
anywhere.
else I learned out there was when you park, you turn your wheels towards the curb.
Oh yeah,
So if the e-brake gives way, it stops the car from rolling down the hill.
yeah.
Yeah, what else we got here? We talked about the Bray. We talked about Korea. We talked about the piece of foam. My gosh, I think I'm all out of questions.
You know, one thing I
Yeah,
wanted to mention
yeah.
that kind of is like the next step on my path is that this year, starting the first of the year, I began my journey in the cohorts.art
Oh,
universe.
yes. Yeah, you're a cohort. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a mentor for cohorts.art, which is Simon Levin's brainchild of a really great program where I think there's about, I don't even know the total number, but I think with my group, there are like 14 maybe mentors, and
Mm-hmm.
each of us have a number of mentees. In my case, I have five,
Mm-hmm.
and we meet 2 1 hour one-on-one meetings a month, plus a 2 hour all hands on deck for the six of us. So
Mm-hmm.
it comes out to like 14 hours or so. Is that right for me? Or 12 hours a month that I am on Zoom calls. But it's this really great way of having critical feedback and kind of being held accountable for goals, and just I hope for me what I can bring to it is like a lot of the things that come up from these people who are earlier in their path are things that I've had personal experience dealing with in my own path in clay, um, and so I'm able to offer some guidance on that, and
Yeah,
then
that's
cohorts
priceless.
itself has a lot of great resources that are kind of password protected on their website. So just lectures and um, different photo databases of amazing pots and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I've heard great things. Bertie Boone is a cohort as well, right?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Pentaculum with her, and then she told me about it. There's some great people on that, and what a great program for people that are looking for that guidance. And yeah, I mean, spending time with you a couple times a month would be fantastic. I would think.
Well, it's great, and as a mentor, it's really great for me to just have. I don't know. It's really easy to bury my head in the sand here in the studio and come up every couple of months and need some like
Yeah,
social connection. So
yeah.
that's a that's a really good part of it too.
Kind of keeps you in the loop, right? And then I mean, I would imagine that would kind of keep you thinking about your work as a whole as well, because you're trying to teach it to other people.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, it puts it into context.
Yeah.
for sure.
Very cool. All right. Well, you got to leave us with one good tip. I'm sure you have tons.
Um, don't use too much water when you're throwing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the big
yeah.
one right there.
Yep.
That's like,
Use the slip.
yeah, or not even, I don't even like to use slip. I use clean water, but it's, these little sponges is really the only source of the water for me. And it's like, I apply it right where I need it. And I
Yep.
do it as quickly as possible. If you look back at me throwing earlier in this video, um, the actual throwing is a fraction of the time. And yeah, when I'm teaching, most of the problems that people have go back to adding too much water to the clay. So we go,
Yes, very good.
go.
Not too much water. There's a guy who I watched, learning on YouTube, watching you. I watched Simon Leach and Tim
Yeah,
C. And
yep,
then there's a guy named Shin Xuan Lin. He throws really cool porcelain duff, chatters a lot. But
yep.
he used to stop his hands and he would take the slip and then put
Oh
that
yeah,
off his hands and throw with that, which was he said,
yeah,
don't add
yeah.
water,
I,
use
I
the
do that too because it when I'm centering, it always adds up right here. So I'll scoop it
yeah,
off and use
yeah.
that, or right on the edge of the bat, so it doesn't even make it down into the splash pan. That's a standard splash pan for me right there.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty good. Well, I appreciate your time, man. This is fantastic. I'm so happy to get to know you.
Yeah, likewise. Really good talking with you, and yeah,
Are
thanks
you
for
going to Instica?
not this year. I went last year, and with a toddler in the mix.
Yeah. Tough time to
Yeah,
get away.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Tell us also where people can find your work right now, website, galleries, or where do you want them to pick up your stuff?
Yeah, so Adam Field Pottery is essentially all you really need to know, and that covers Instagram, website. Um, I am selling directly now. I've phased out galleries over the last, half a dozen years or so.
Hmm.
So it's all direct, and
Yep.
yeah, that Adam Field
Yeah.
Pottery.
Check out your website. It's funny. I had Tim C. Do you know Tim C?
Not personally, I'm aware of him and his work.
He came over the other day. He lives an hour and a half away. So I went to his house and we threw a bunch
Yeah.
of bowls. Actually, these are them for
Oh yeah.
the empty bowls thing.
Yeah.
And then he came down and did them here. And we were talking about workshops. And I'm going to teach one in Virginia. And he's like, I don't really teach workshops anywhere else anymore. He goes, I do them at my house. Like we were talking earlier about your house,
Yeah.
doing it at your place. I said, really? Why is that? He goes, because if I go teach it somewhere else, I make $1,500. He goes, if I do it at my house, I make 27,000. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, good point.
Totally. Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
same with sales, I mean, there's always going to be give and take on that, but I think generally if you can figure it out and you have the audience for it, then that's the way to
yeah,
go.
yeah,
But every once in a
absolutely.
while, the right location comes up, and currently my son Juno lives on Oahu, and I want
The Four Seasons with a couple of cups and stand by the elevators.
I will make it over to Maui, and I definitely am going to stop by that Four Seasons and at least say hi to my friends
Yeah,
who are still
yeah, very
selling
cool.
it. Yeah,
All right, Mr. Adam, that was fantastic, sir. I appreciate
awesome,
your
Mike.
time and thanks for being the
Yeah,
season finale.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. See ya.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.